right now from Careerbolt, and this is about the job search process, especially internship and job search using LinkedIn. So we did one session earlier, which is all about how do you look for internship, what are things you take care of. We did one webinar last month, and this year again, this is the second of a monthly webinar series where we are going to talk about things which are important for students. So let me begin by saying that my name is Vinod Arvindakshin. I work as a faculty member at IIT Kerala, and I used to work as a HR director in the Silicon Valley for a long time, more than a decade. I just came back to India last year, and since then we have been working on creating a platform called Careerbolt. And the idea behind the platform is we want to connect students and the best possible jobs in the market. So we want to create learning and development pathways for students to target their dream jobs. And at the same time, we are also getting recruiters on board so that whether they're the best of companies, right, we want them to come and select students from across India. So we are working on a bunch of initiatives, and our website will be live in a couple of months. But before that, we also want to educate students about the right way to search for careers. So I'm going to be talking very generically. I'm not going to talk about career board in this conversation. It's all about how you can optimize your job search process, your internship process. So without too much ado, let's jump straight in. I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you a couple of pointers in terms of how you can optimize your job search process. So hopefully my screen is visible. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So folks, again, for those who joined a bit later, again, I'm the co-founder of a company called Careerbolt, and I also work as a adjunct faculty, a visiting professor at IIT Kerala, and I work in a bunch of companies. I used to lead recruiting for Cisco in both US and India. I was based in San Jose, the headquarters. I also led HR for a bunch of companies like Samsung Electronics, CDK, and we will have a Q&A session at the end where I'm happy to answer questions. By the way, this recording of this conversation we put up with the YouTube channel called Careerbolt. So if you have time, please subscribe to the channel or even our LinkedIn channel where there's just a lot of information available. I've personally created around 200 videos to educate students on careers. So I would encourage you to check those videos out, and I'm sure you will learn something from each one of these videos. So before we began today's session, we had actually reached out to students asking them to both register and also provide us possible questions they want to ask us. So the format of today's conversation is I'm going to begin with talking about a couple of points and I will take questions at the end of it. But today's conversation is all about answering your questions. So there's a bunch of questions. This has all come from you folks, the students out there, asking questions like what's the best way to approach recruiters on LinkedIn? What kind of cold messaging works out on LinkedIn? How do I make my profile better? What should I write in the note when I try to connect with people? So there's a lot of questions around what is LinkedIn, how do I use it? So that is exactly what I'm going to touch on in today's conversation. And if you have questions, please list it down in the comment section in Google Chat or on YouTube. We have folks monitoring those spaces. And after I finish my presentation, I will answer some of the questions which already come to me. And after that, if I have time, I'll try to answer the questions which are coming up in today's chat box. So we're going to cover a bunch of things like why use LinkedIn, how to network on LinkedIn. Hopefully some of it is already known to you, but if not, I think this session is going to be very, very helpful to you. Okay. And remember, I'm talking from a recruiter's perspective. I'm not talking from a student's perspective. So I'll kind of let you know what recruiters are looking for. Okay. First thing first, why use LinkedIn? Very simple. LinkedIn is a very professional network. It is not like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on. It's way, way more professional. Okay. So there is a lot of advantages to using LinkedIn. Most people, most recruiters, most hiring managers, most CEOs, they're all on LinkedIn. So the easy way for you to connect. There are a couple of options called free and professional. There are some options on LinkedIn. And the problem with LinkedIn is also that since anybody can use LinkedIn, there are just millions and millions of students are out there on LinkedIn. And every day, every recruiter, every person working in a company get lots and lots of messages from students, way more than they can handle. So what that means is that most people LinkedIn stop responding to messages because there are like hundreds of students messaging recruiters and talking to HR people. They just don't want to respond because they want to see something different in each student. And I will talk about how you can make your profile as different in LinkedIn as possible. Okay. So I think the most important question for everyone here is how to network on LinkedIn. So I'll get to the meat of the topic, and then I'll go to how to make your LinkedIn profile better. Okay. So simple. Okay. So a couple of things. I want to educate you on what not to do in LinkedIn, and then I'll talk about what you should do in LinkedIn. Okay. This is some of the messages I get from people. So, for example, if you look at here, right, there are some people who message me saying, "Hey, hi." Okay. They don't even mention my name. They just say hi. Hope you're doing good. Got your reference from someone. Who's that person? I have no idea. They say I'm looking for new opportunities, attaching my resume. This is the person who messaged me. I was absolutely shocked on seeing this because it doesn't even have capture my name. It's almost like it's a copy paste for every recruiter out there, and it's not even customized, right? And they said got a reference from someone. I want to know who the someone is. Another person messaged me saying, "Hey Vinod, hope you're doing fine. I'm looking for a change. You let me know if there is any opportunity." Okay, so this at least has my name, but nothing else beyond that. And the problem is when I look at this messages, not just me, anybody out there, right? Anybody working in industry, they quickly find that end of the day, the job search process is owned by the student themselves. It is not owned by the company. The company has no idea which job to link you with. For example, when I was working in a company like Cisco, at any point of time, there were 200 to 300 jobs open in the Cisco website. So Trapti mails me saying, "Hey, Vinod, I'm looking for opportunities. Help me find a role." But which role do I help her? There are 300 job opportunities. How can I help her? Because I don't know what she's interested in. Is she interested in manufacturing? Is she interested in interns? Is she interested in a full-time job? Is she interested in finance? Is she interested in HR? I have zero idea. So I just cannot help anyone if people are not clear about what they want. Okay. So it's very important, firstly, to customize your ask when you connect with people on LinkedIn. Tell them exactly what you're looking for, and also if you want a referral, you have to be very, very clear that you put the job posting you're looking for, give them the link to the job posting and say, can you give me a referral? That really is what you can ask on LinkedIn. Okay. Most people do not respond to strangers on LinkedIn. So if you just message like this, right, it just means that you don't understand the job search process. And typically you don't want to come across like a stranger. So please customize your LinkedIn request. Now, next question you'll ask me is, so what's a good LinkedIn request? So that's what I'm sharing with you here. One tip I would offer is ideally don't ask for internships and jobs right in your first communication. Try to put that to the second communication, right? So first, when you're connecting with people, your first aim is not to find a job, but to first connect with the person. You want to understand that there's a link between you and that other person. Okay, so what we normally recommend is ask for a meeting if possible. I think that's something which is highly recommended. So I've given a sample here. So just take 20, 30 seconds, go through this. And I think this is an example of a really good note you can send on LinkedIn and which will have a much higher response rate. It says here, "Dear Mr. Shailesh Kumar." So please remember to add the name Mr. Don't just call them by first name or last name, right? Make it formal. Add Mr., Mrs., MS, whatever, right? Add that very clearly. You are communicating formally, so there's a business etiquette to be followed. Introduce yourself saying that I'm a final year student at Amity Engineering College. I'm interested in working in manufacturing. So it's already very clear what you're looking for. Then you add something more. I've been following the success of Tata Motors for the past many years. I looked at your LinkedIn profile, and since you work in Tata Motors, you really impressed me. I liked your LinkedIn post on engineering design. So this means that the person has spent time to really understand what the hiring manager has been posting or what the recruiter has been posting, right? So before you connect with anyone, do check up, do they have a Twitter account? Do they have a LinkedIn account? Track some of the previous posts on Twitter or LinkedIn, check what they have done. If they have posted, call it out in your connecting letter, right? Say that you've read those posts. That makes it way more personal rather than just sending a blind email. Then you say, if you have 15, 20 minutes, I would love to connect with you about how you started working in the sector and what skills you believe are relevant to the profession, right? And then you close by saying, thank you so much, and your name. This is a fantastic letter. You can also add one more line here saying that I would also love the chance to get a referral for some jobs in your company, and you can list the jobs you're looking for. So the way anybody is going to respond to it is either they're going to say, okay, I want to connect with Tina. I'll set up some time to connect with Tina and find out what her interests are. Or if you don't have time, I will basically connect with Tina and say, hey, Tina, I'm too busy. I cannot talk to you, but how can I help you? Is there some referral you want? If so, just give me your job titles and link to whichever jobs you want to apply for, and I'll happily provide you a referral. Remember that to get a referral, the two things: firstly, you need to have a personal connect. That's number one. Ideally, if the personal connect is from your alma mater, for example, if you're a student from, say, Manipal Institute of Technology, right, and you have an alumnus who is also from Manipal, right, that's easy connect. Or you are from one of the IITs, and the other person is also from one of the IITs. Easy connect. But if not, you have to find a touch point. Whether you like their posts, you reach out to them, connect with them initially, have a conversation, then you ask for referral. Okay, that really is how the job search process works. So some tips as students reach out. I think that's one common complaint students give me is that most people don't respond to LinkedIn requests, and that's normal. That's absolutely normal. In fact, even when I connect to people on LinkedIn, many people just reject me outright. Right? I've spent more than like 10, 15 years in the US, working in the US, but still, most people firstly don't have time. They don't check up their LinkedIn profile. They don't have time. Many people are just very bad at responses. So that means that 80% of people do not respond to LinkedIn requests. It is okay to send a reminder after 2 weeks, maybe one more reminder after another 2 weeks, but please stop after that. Do not keep pestering people for a connect. Okay, if they don't want to connect, you just move on to a different person and connect with them. If they ask for a meeting, this is one tip I would offer students is that it is as good as an interview. So any meeting, any touch point with the company is very much like an interview process. So do your preparation for an interview, be prepared, do your homework when you talk to them. Do not just blindly walk in and have a conversation. A random conversation is not a random conversation, especially when you're looking for internships and jobs. Treat it like an interview process. Okay. At the end of the meeting, it's totally fine for you to ask for a referral. Everybody's okay with it. The company person may ask you, give me the job title, job codes, or a link to the job which you want to apply for. So please go to the careers section of the website, search for those jobs, check if it is indeed available on the careers website, and keep that link ready with you. When somebody says that they're ready for referral, you want to send the link to them. Also, right, when you indeed talk to interviewers, do send a thank you note to the people who referred you, right? That's very important. Even when you do interviews, do send a thank you note to interviewers before you actually begin your interview. This is like something which almost nobody does. If you do this, it's very easy way for you to build a connection. So you can, if you don't know their email ID, you can send a note on LinkedIn, or otherwise, what you can do is that you can reach out to the recruiter who called you for interview and send some thank you notes to them and ask them to forward it to the interviewers. Okay, so there are some tips by which you can again increase your chances. So hopefully this answered maybe one or two questions from the students around how to actually do the connect on LinkedIn. I'm also now going to go to a slightly different topic in terms of, okay, how do you create a good LinkedIn profile? I think this is also equally important. I'll probably talk about this for 10 minutes and then begin to take up Q&A, questions and answers. So the students here, right, the most important thing is what's the difference between LinkedIn and a resume? I think this is very important because these two things serve very different purposes. Ideally, a resume for a student should not be more than one page. That's it. It has to be one page. Only if you're a very senior person with more than 10 years of work experience is it okay to have a two-page resume. If the recruiter wants to know more about you, they should ideally go to your LinkedIn profile and look for it. So at the top of your resume, please mention your LinkedIn profile. That's very important. And if you cannot cover all the stuff in one page, you can put up that stuff on LinkedIn. It's totally fine. You can put up whatever you want on LinkedIn. So you can put as much content as required. So LinkedIn is definitely more exhaustive. And whatever you put on LinkedIn should ideally be very similar to what you put up on your resume. So the dates should match, the job titles should match, the company you work for should match. Those things should not be messy. Okay, so make sure that's done. Also, a small tip is that if you make grammatical mistakes in your LinkedIn profile or your resume, recruiters will just give up on you immediately. They will not proceed. So, for example, typically a recruiter, when they're doing the initial scanning of resumes, they look at your profile for maybe 10 seconds or even lesser. And they're not looking to select you, they're looking for reason to reject you at that point of time. The first time you apply, right? That's how recruiters look at your resume. If there are grammatical errors, if there are typographical errors, if there is issues with fonts and all that, right? Immediate reject, because they want people who are detail driven, who do not make mistakes. So any small mistake on the resume or LinkedIn can have a very big impact. So please check, recheck, again check, do it 3, 4 times, right? Talk to your friends, give your resume to be edited, proofread. Likewise, show your LinkedIn profile to your friends, use Microsoft Word, do the spell check. Make sure there are no grammatical mistakes. It's a surefire way for you to get kicked out of the job search process. So hopefully most people have created a LinkedIn profile, but most important thing, first create a profile and you need to build your network. So this is probably the most important thing about LinkedIn is that the only way you can connect with the recruiters is if they are friends of your friends. If you're a total stranger, it's very difficult to connect with people randomly. So there is an option called LinkedIn Professional by which you can connect to people who are you're not in your immediate network. So please begin by adding all your friends, family, classmates, alumnus from your college, people who graduated from your college, co-workers, people you talk to, people like me who are talking to you, right? I'm doing a session with you, but uh, I'm following thousands of people on LinkedIn, right? So you can immediately access thousands of members in my LinkedIn profile by connecting with people like me. So whenever you sit in for a session, talk to somebody, listen to somebody talk, please follow up, write an email to the person. When you send a note to the person, say, I listen to your lecture, I listen to your talk. Hey, I want to stay connected with you, and I want to open up my LinkedIn profile. And most people are willing to help. So you'll be surprised at the number of people willing to help. So follow people, follow companies on LinkedIn. And then also, I'll give you some tips around how do you follow jobs and internships on LinkedIn. So again, feel free to add me and other folks to your LinkedIn channel. Add your friends, classmates. These are all very simple ways to get things done. Okay? Participate in conversations. Sometimes when you're wanting to desperately get a job in a certain company, you're connected to the person. The person in the company is posting something, right? It is always fine for you to put a comment on the profile, like that comment, right, and do something, because just participating in conversations can make you stand out. Over time, people will notice that you are a very enthusiastic participant in a lot of conversations, right? That makes it easier for you to get noticed by people in companies, especially your target drink companies. So I'll give you one funny story, okay, to just make it a little easy to understand. So the chief operating officer of Uber, do you know how he got his job? So when Uber began, the company was basically, I think there were only two people working in the company. This is very early days of 2008, 2009, that period. Okay. So Brian Krasnick, I think that was a guy who was the head of Uber at that time, the CEO of Uber. Uh, if I got the name wrong, just I mean, I'm willing to correct myself. But the CEO of Uber, right, was looking for people to hire, and he just put up a post on Twitter saying, I'm looking for somebody to join me to lead my operations team. And there was a person who was working at General Electric at that time. He was a fresh graduate with just 1 year of work experience. He just reached out saying, hey, I want to work with you. And that's how he got his job. Later on, he rose on to become a senior vice president. Within 10 years, right, he became the chief operating officer of Uber. And I think he made more than $1 billion working at Uber. And the way he got to that $1 billion was because he was the first person to respond to a tweet from the CEO of that company. So again, small things like this could matter a lot, right, to get your first opening. So a lot of people are out there on LinkedIn. People like hiring managers, recruiters, the CEOs of the companies. There's so many people out there on LinkedIn. So if you have a dream companies, you have to reach out to as many folks as possible in that company. When you connect, when people look at your LinkedIn profile, you have to demonstrate that you have some sort of knowledge and expertise in what you want to do. Most companies are willing to train students from scratch, so you don't need too much of skills, but at least you need to show that you are an active participant in college events. You know something about working with people, working on projects. You want to come across slightly different from the average person. So demonstrating your capability, knowledge, skills, very important. LinkedIn can also be a great way for you to do research on companies and get information about the people who are hiring for job positions. In fact, if you see jobs on LinkedIn, you'll also see a link about who put up the job posting. And most possibly it's a recruiter who put up a job posting, and you can see who the recruiter is, and you can connect with the recruiter directly. reach out to them. So there's some easy ways for you to get noticed, and most people don't do the connect. LinkedIn also has a job board, which has a lot of jobs. Again, you can do those things in terms of track some of the job openings which are open for you. You can follow companies, and you can also join LinkedIn groups. I'm going to rush through this again. If you guys want this PowerPoint presentation, I'm happy to share the presentation with you. I'll put it up on my both my LinkedIn channel and my WhatsApp channel, so you can just look at the PDF version of this. So you don't need to even take like print screenshots, right? I mean, I'll share these documents with you. I have no problem sharing this presentation, but make sure your photograph is high quality. Okay, there's a number one mistake the students make is that they may put a very low quality image out there, but you have to invest in this. It is probably something you do once in 10 years, right? So whether you are doing a undergrad, master's program, MBA program, please invest in high resolution image. Get a professional to take a photograph. That really is going to help you. Your face should be big. Be the only person in the picture. Have a good expression and a smile. That's really going to help. Avoid distracting backgrounds, and again, use filters in a good way. Okay, and you folks are good in Instagram and all that, so I'm not going to talk about this too much. But invest in a good photo, because that helps make your profile more likely to be viewed 14 times compared to the average person. So that's a big deal. There's actually a website called Photo Feeler. This is something I learned recently. So again, if you put up your photograph out there, it's also going to show you a couple of scores about your competency, how likable you are, how influential you are, just based on a photograph. So check it out. There's a website called Photo Feeler, and there's some signs of a good photo shot, right? No shadows, like your eyes should be bright, and you should be professional dress, things like that. So take care of these things as you look at creating a good LinkedIn photograph. There's an option to customize your URL for your LinkedIn profile. So most people do not use it the right way. So please customize your URL. Try to get your name in the URL as much as possible. So my name is unique name, so it's easy for me to get my URL customized. So do that on LinkedIn. Likewise, you may also need to find a URL for you. Do not keep funny names like a sweet cat or um, great dog, those sort of things, right? I mean, you just want to make sure that it's as professional as possible. There's a section called About Me on LinkedIn. Just try to fill it up with whatever, it's a summary of you, right? You talk about like who are you, where are you coming from, what is it your skills are, what are your hobbies, what is it you want to work on. So for example, a student here says that I have a dual, this is an actual About Me which I've copied from a page on LinkedIn. This person actually worked in McKinsey, so I just pulled this out saying that this person has a dual degree from IIT Bombay, has worked in transportation logistics, is well versed with different analytical tools, and says that they're looking for certain jobs and certain roles, and they also talk about the hobbies. This is a great way to present yourself, and do describe yourself in a similar way. Work experience. If you watched my earlier webinar, by the way, my webinar is on my YouTube channel. It's very important to use action words like analyze, design. That's the way you talk about your work experience. You don't use present tense, you don't use future tense, you use past tense. And you talk about what is it you did, what is the impact you made. For example, a 45% increase in productivity, twofold increase in production. So those, you need to use numbers, talk about what you did, what you achieved, and use numbers to talk about your achievements. That's really what recruiters look for. Again, if your accomplishments, things you achieve, put it out there. These things cannot always be put on a resume, but you can easily put it up on LinkedIn. So it's an easy way for you to get noticed. Okay, so there is this option called groups on LinkedIn. So this is an example. So I search for jobs India on a LinkedIn profile, and I find all these groups out there. The fun fact is that if you join this group and the recruiter also join the group, then both of you are connected to each other, which means that if the recruit, you can connect with the recruiter, they'll pop up in your search results, and you can reach out to them and even add them to your profile immediately, even if you're not one-to-one connect with them. So I think joining these groups helps you reach out to a large number of people, whether it's for jobs or internships. So I just type internship search, internship India, searched on LinkedIn, and I get lots of groups. Become a member of these groups because it will help expand your network. This is specifically for people who want to begin work, again, who are on the verge of graduation, right? So once you graduate, you really want to get noticed. there's an option for you to say that you're open to work. There's a LinkedIn option. So there's a badge which comes there saying open to work. Actually, LinkedIn algorithm, right, flags these profiles and prioritizes these profiles and shares with more people. So if you're desperately wanting to work, if you're looking for internships, you can put up this change in profile, utilize this option, and the LinkedIn algorithm is going to help you a lot. And sometimes also putting up a post on your LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm looking for an internship, I'm looking for a full-time job opening, and I would appreciate your support from people in your network, right? Sometimes you can go viral, people will respond, people will connect with you. So make sure you're well connected first, and then put up posts saying that you're looking for internships, and you never know who's going to help you out. So be open to putting up posts on your LinkedIn profile, asking for roles, especially if you're searching for internships and jobs. There was a question from one student about when to use LinkedIn Professional. So the way I would say is that LinkedIn Professional is only free for students for 1 month. So I would say use LinkedIn Professional at the right time. For example, if you're desperate about the job search process or desperate about internships, you can get 1 month free. But after that, they begin to charge you. So if you can afford it, I think LinkedIn Professional is fantastic. But otherwise, you'll have to pay a nominal amount of money to LinkedIn, and it's not cheap either. So utilize it when it's very important for you and when it's really critical for you. Otherwise, I think if you're well connected on LinkedIn, you can actually connect to a lot of members directly. You don't need to use LinkedIn Professional. I'm going to Q&A, folks, but again, this video of this is going to be put up on YouTube, and I'll post the slides on my LinkedIn channel and my WhatsApp channel. Okay, the WhatsApp channel is again in the description box under each one of these videos. So these are the questions which I got now. And what I'm going to do right now is in the remainder of the time we have, right? So how much time do we have? So we finished around 30 minutes so far. So the next maybe 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to answer many of these questions. These are questions which came to us already, right? When you registered, you asked me these questions. I'll try to answer these questions. And after that, I will again open it up. If there are other people asking me questions during this discussion, feel free to send me a chat. Or open up your mic, ask me questions. Happy to converse with you. Okay. So I think I answered the first question. What is the best way to approach a recruiter on LinkedIn? Customize your note to the recruiter. I think that's the number one thing. Every recruiter gets hundreds of students messaging them every day, and it's not possible for them to respond to each and every student. It's just absolutely impossible. So please make it easy for the recruiter. Customize your message. Make it something which is unique for that one recruiter. Don't send the same message to 100 recruiters, right? That's not the way you reach out to recruiters. So the more you customize, the higher your chances of success. And remember, there will always be rejections in LinkedIn. There will always be 80% rejections is very common. You play a numbers game. If you want to really connect with people, keep on reaching out to people, right? Don't stop at 10, 20, reach out to 30 people, 40 people, 50 people. Ultimately, things will go in your favor and people will respond. Let's try answering the second question. So why do most people who are higher positions don't connect with me on LinkedIn when I send them a personalized connection request? Uh, I think the answer for that is I think it's not personalized enough. Spend more time in terms of creating a more personalized request. Try to see if they have some LinkedIn posts. Do they have active presence on, say, Twitter? Have they posted content online? Read up stuff? Do they have videos on YouTube? Check up these things, right? And then ask them meaningful questions about the company. So the more you customize, the higher your chances of getting selected. And again, people in high places, they're just too busy. They don't have time to respond to every student. So be patient, be tolerant. And I would say that just keep playing the numbers game, right? Connect to more people. Ultimately, your chances will increase. Yes, it's student, I think it's a little difficult because you don't have work experience. But if you mention in your letter, for example, when you connect saying that, hey, I'm a student, I'm looking to expand my network, and I checked up your post and I find this interesting, I would love to connect with you. I don't see any reason why people will not connect you with you on LinkedIn. So I think just customizing and being genuine is going to help you. Third question is, should I post content on LinkedIn to get higher connections? Uh, I think yes, it does help over time, right? I mean, even if you folks, for example, if you have some classmates, somebody's posting something, just help each other out, right? In your within your own class, somebody's posting something, or within your own university, like these posts, comment on some of the posts, and hopefully these people will also respond the same way when you post. So if you can maybe create maybe 30, 40 people who are interested in liking and posting your content, right? I mean, that's the way you build connections and build networks. And yes, the YouTube algorithm, sorry, the LinkedIn algorithm does give preference to people who are more well connected and who post very often. They promote your post and promote you much more. So yes, posting content will help you get more connections. Is it advisable to connect on LinkedIn when we do not know each other? Hey, it's totally fine to connect with people. Like when you're a student, you're not been in the workplace, so how will you know the other person? Everybody will be a stranger to you, whether it's a CEO of a company, whether it's a hiring manager, director, recruiter, and so on. So please connect on LinkedIn. It's totally fine if you do not know each other, but customize your connect when you send your message, and that's how your chances of getting a connect increases. After the connection, the next question is people who do not know each other don't interact. It becomes like a ghost connection. That's super common. Most people, there's some research which says that you can only connect with around 150 to 200 people and have a one-to-one connection, interact with them freely. In LinkedIn, most people have thousands of connections, if not tens of thousands of connections. There is no way that one person can always connect with the other person, right? That's just not the way it works. So even if you don't interact, that's okay. Don't look at it as a ghost connection. Look at it as a way to expand your network. The moment you connect with, say, me, right, my network gets opened up to you. Likewise, if you connect with somebody else, their network opens to you. So look at it more of a way for you to expand your network. You don't need to physically talk to each person all the time. One on once or twice initially when you talk, that's fine enough. Shall I share my failures learning on LinkedIn? I would say as a student, right? I mean, I would say share your successes more than your failures. If you're a very qualified professional, then talking about your failures is okay. But I would strongly recommend you to talk about achievements and what you've learned. I think those things are very important on LinkedIn. Uh, as an entry level person, if you're going to talk about your failures, I'm not sure if it's going to help you. It may not hurt you, but I don't think it'll help you either. So that's the way I look at it. So just try to focus on the positive side of you, right? You're selling yourself to the world outside. You are like putting an ad of yourself, the advertisement of yourself. So just share your successes more often. How to find jobs, internships on LinkedIn. There's so many fake internship jobs, many prepaid jobs where students need to give money and get an internship. Okay, so I showed you some examples of how to increase your network reach, how to connect and all that. But let's be frank, right? There are just a lot of engineering students in India, and there are very few job openings. I think sometime when I looked at the statistics, there are 15 lakh engineering graduates a year in India. There are only 2.5 lakh job opportunities in India, which means that there are very few jobs. I mean, 80% of the students out there will never find a job. That's the way the market works. So yeah, it's a little difficult, but I really feel that if you put in time, invest time on LinkedIn, if you connect with people, if you have the right skills and capabilities, there is no way that you will not find a job or internship. Uh, I would, if there are fake internships, I think it's a waste of time and effort because you will get it done on paper, right? You can put something on your resume saying I did an internship, but if a recruiter asks you questions on what did you do during the internship, you'll face a lot of problems. So fake internships is something which I personally do not advise. If you're going to pay money and get an internship, it's just not worth it. Instead, I would recommend that you can do some sort of research work under some professor in your college. So work with some one of your professors, say that I want to work over the summer with them into some research, right? Work with them, do some genuine work. That's where you really learn. Don't take the shortcuts. It's just not going to help you. Firstly, you'll not learn anything. You just end up spending a lot of money. I think also hurt you if the recruiter asks you pointed questions. If you do, if you give bad answers, right, it's also going to impact you very badly. Okay, next set of questions. The things I've bolded are those questions which I think I already answered in my earlier presentation, but let's look at the questions. How to increase the connections on LinkedIn? Is there any benefit of increasing connections? Again, no easy way. Connect with people who genuinely want to connect to. Keep customizing your connect with them. Reach out daily. You add one or two people, right? That's kind of how you build your network over time. If you have dream companies you want to target, please target people in those companies. And many people do respond to students. So not everybody is a bad person. Many people also want to help. You'll be surprised at the number of people who are willing to help each other. So you will, for example, if there's a very senior person, don't assume that the person will not connect with you on LinkedIn. It's okay for you to try to connect, and there's a chance that they may accept the request and be in touch with you. There are a lot of folks who are interested in building up their LinkedIn connection too. So I think you have to do the homework from your end, hard work from your end, and the benefit clearly is that you expand your network, which means that You can see more job postings. For example, if some recruiter who's part of a network puts up a job posting saying that I'm looking for students who are graduating this year and who have skills in so and so areas, it's easy connect for you, right? If you already know the person, you can connect with the person, the recruiter, and they'll definitely give you priority over other applicants. So again, there are some advantages on LinkedIn by building your connections. What kind of cold messaging works? I already answered this question. I shared some examples earlier. I'm not going to go there again. Why do professors not use LinkedIn so much? I think it's a little bit of a generational problem. I think most professors graduated maybe 10 years back, 20 years back from the undergrad. Um, if you're an assistant professor, they maybe graduated 10 years back. Full professors maybe graduated 20, 30 years back. And the world has changed a lot in the last 10 years. Every year, things are becoming new. And I think professors still don't understand that there's so much value in LinkedIn. There are some professors, I wouldn't put all professors under the category. There are a lot of excellent professors who keep posting regular, fantastic stuff on LinkedIn. So follow their channels, connect with them. Those are all great things. But again, as a group, I think professors, probably from older generation, they're still yet to learn how to network effectively on a new tool like LinkedIn. How can I make my profile strong in general? So again, have a great profile picture, talk about yourself, talk about your skills, have a big network, and these are things which will help you get a good connection on LinkedIn. Um, there's no guarantee that anyone is going to like your post or share your post. You build your own community over time. So if you share other posts, maybe others will also share your post later, right? So that's how this game works. What should you write in the ad note section when you connect with other people? I already covered this. I've shared some examples early on in my presentation, so I'm not going to go there. How can we network and get jobs? Again, I've talked about this. How do you network? You can search for jobs on LinkedIn. You can search for jobs on the career page of the company. For example, if you want to work in Google, go to careers.google.com. Screen jobs in India, see what are the jobs open out there. Are there campus, like many jobs, even if it's, for example, hiring from campus, right? They're going to put up jobs out there saying that they're looking for people to apply from campus. So look at the job postings out there, look at the job description, and you will identify the skills in the job description. I've done a full workshop on this and how to identify skills in my first webinar. Look at that webinar on my YouTube channel. But the idea is when you look at the job description and you identify the skills, ask yourself, do I have those skills? If you don't have the skills, you probably cannot apply for those jobs. If you have the skills, then you can definitely network, find a referral, and then apply for the job. Never ever apply directly for the job on the website. It never works. If you see a LinkedIn job posting, don't apply for that directly. It will never ever work. There are too many people applying. Like every recruiter gets around 300 to 400 people apply for every job. So there's no way you'll stand out among 400 people. Try to get a referral from someone with working within the company. So do the LinkedIn outreach, connect with someone, ask for a referral. That's the only way you will find jobs and internships. How to identify which jobs suit you? So again, look at the job description on the careers page, look at skills, ask yourself, do you have those skills? So that's how you identify whether the job meets your expectations. Okay, more questions. How to prove myself to others that I'm worthy of the job if I'm having a low CPI, low marks, low GPA. The reason for 6.4 is that I'm still exploring life and I've not graduated yet. So again, many companies don't look at grade point average. It all depends on which branch you're in, right? For example, I would say that if you're in a branch like computer science, right? I mean, your skills are extremely important. Computer science, electronics, and so on. Nobody cares about your grades. Maybe a cutoff, if you are in IITs, I would say the cutoff is maybe 7 or 8. But anything above eight is all the same, right? So over the next couple of semesters, try to get your grade point up a little, at least to 7.5 or 8. That's going to help you a lot. But most companies don't really kick out people that way. If you are in mechanical, if you're in civil, if you're in the core branches, there could be a little more focus on grade point because these jobs are very selective. So I would say that get your grade point average a little up, but at the same time, don't remember that your grade point average can only get you to an interview process. But to clear the interview process, you need to have stuff. You need to have skills. So please learn stuff. Invest in learning both people skills and in learning technical skills. And that's the way you're going to get flagged to the recruiters. So actually, we are working on a website called Careerbolt, which exactly tries to help students in terms of understanding how do you get to your dream job, what is the learning pathway, what should you do in every year of your undergrad and your master's program so that you can get your dream job. So we're creating learning paths, and everything is given for free to the students. So we are partnering with IITs, you're partnering with NPTELs. NPTEL is the open source learning platform in IITs. So we're trying to find ways by which professors can create learning paths, students can create learning paths, alumnus can create learning paths, help each person out. So we're building out a community. Again, we'll share more updates in the future, but there's going to be a completely free option coming to students in terms of how can you pick up skills and get ready for jobs. So more to come on this topic as our website gets launched. How can LinkedIn be best utilized by a beginner? We talked about this, right? I'm not going to go there. How can we be more presentable on a LinkedIn profile? I talked about this already in the beginning. Does LinkedIn networking help? I think we said that it does help students, especially when you search for jobs and internships. By the way, I heard that compared to every other website out there, like monster.com, naukri.com, the number one site used by recruiters is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is very important from a recruiter's perspective. So if you want jobs and internships, it's good for you to create a good profile. Is fourth year too late to start networking? No time is ever too late. You can always network at any point of time. You can even start networking once you finish your graduation and then you still don't have a job, right? That's still a good time to network. So you can always find jobs anytime. Okay, so don't worry that you're early or late. It is never too late to begin. How to make connections. Again, simple things like follow your classmates, follow your seniors, alumnus from your college, uh, follow them. There's an option in LinkedIn called both follow and connect. So many people sometimes like hide the connect option. They only show you the follow option. But if you look very carefully, right, then if you can dig a little in LinkedIn, there's also always a way for you to connect with the person. So you can follow and connect with person. I highly recommend that you connect with people rather than just follow, because that's the only way you can build your network and open up their friends to yourself. So basically, their friends will open up to you only if you connect, not by following others. Okay, so there's one more question around profile for a PhD in a top US university. I think it's a fantastic question, but it's going to be a very long answer. So I'm going to take it a little later if the person can wait. I'll now probably go back and check if the other questions answer that and come back to this question finally. Because this session is all about networking. I want to stay on topic. So folks, I'm going to stop sharing and check if there are any other folks, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, but your video is still paused.
Oh, videos pause, is it? By the way, did you hear the end of my presentation? Was it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from students? Sorry, I'm not able to track the questions. Is there anything on YouTube or anything in the chat box?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, so I'll probably, again, it's unfortunate that my video is frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'll try answering the final question, and after that we can wind up this call, right? Again, if you have other questions, reach out to us on LinkedIn, reach out to us on WhatsApp, right? We're more than happy to help students. So let me try answering the last question in terms of like, what should one be doing to make their profile better, especially when they were trying for a PhD in the top US universities. What I'm going to recommend is that when you're trying for a PhD program, right, the number one thing is all about your research credentials. how good you are in doing research. I think that's the most important thing. And everything else, like your grade point average, your marks, it's all a proxy to check how good you are in doing research. So I would say that firstly, focus on getting good marks. Don't have low grades. Like that's very important. But again, having super high grades is not going to help you. More important than that is invest the time wisely in terms of working with professors, doing research, doing internships, getting good letters of recommendations, good writing good statement of purposes. So if you do all these things, I think your chances of getting in goes up dramatically. So right from day one, talk to professors, get involved in research. Also try to get great internships as much as possible. And if you do these things, I think your chances of getting into top colleges increases dramatically. You don't need to always apply to the top 10 universities in the US. You can also apply to like the ones between 20 to 50 or 50 to 100. Most top 100 universities in the US are excellent. So use that as tips in terms of improving your profile. But if you have further questions, happy to answer.
Yes, sir. There is one question on YouTube stream. So, does adding a lot of licenses and certifications on LinkedIn create a negative impact on our profile? That is the question.
It does not. I think having a lot of certifications on LinkedIn creates a very positive impression. So I think it's totally fine for you to add certifications on LinkedIn, but ask yourself the question: so what is it you want to tell the recruiter? What sort of story do you want to tell the recruiter? So, like I mentioned earlier, go to the career section of the company you want to join, look for the job descriptions, and ask yourself: do you have the skills? And whatever certification you have, if it meets the skills as defined by the recruiter, please put it up on your LinkedIn profile. That's totally fine. And I would say that even if you put too many certifications and too much content on your LinkedIn profile, that's totally okay. Nobody's gonna slam you for it. So I think you make good progress if you do that. Any other questions from folks? Okay, team. If you don't have further questions, again, reach out to us on WhatsApp, post on LinkedIn. Happy to connect, answer questions. But we'll do one more webinar next month, and we'll pick up on topics which are important to students and take it forward from there. Thanks everyone for attending this session. Really appreciate your time. Bye, everyone.